In this video, we will learn how to find the equation of a parabola if a focus or a directrix is given. So let's start by writing the correct equation that we will be using throughout the lesson. Since the focus and the directrix are the ones given, then the equation is x minus h to the power 2 equals 4p parentheses y minus k, where the vertex is h and k. So hk are the coordinates of the vertex, and p is the distance from the vertex to the focus or the vertex to the directrix. So if I have a focus and I have a directrix, the vertex is going to be halfway between them, and the distance between the focus and the vertex is b, and the distance between the vertex and the directrix is also p. This is a parabola that opens upwards, since the focus is always going to be inside the parabola. Now, if the focus is on the bottom and the directrix is on the top, then the vertex is halfway between them, and this parabola will open downward because the focus needs always to be inside the parabola. Okay? And the p is the distance between the focus and the vertex and the directrix. Okay? So let's label them. Okay, this is a quick review of lesson 3.3. So if you'd like to take notes of that, that will help you as you are writing the equations, because you need to sketch it to figure out what the p is, what the vertex is, so you can write the equation. So for you to be able to write a successful equation, you need h and k, which are the coordinates of the vertex, and p, which is the distance between the vertex and the focus, or the vertex and the directrix, whatever is given. Now remember, if the parabola opens upward, then that means that that part is going to be positive. If the parabola opens downward, that means that the 4p will be negative. Just keep that in mind as we work throughout this lesson. So this is a quick review of what we learned in lesson 3.3. Okay, so let's start with the first problem, number 1. Now the first thing I need to look at is the vertex. What is the vertex? Because that will give me the h and the k. So the vertex is 0, 0. So here the origin is my vertex. That means that the h is 0 and the k is 0. Now you have to do that right away no matter what they ask you, okay? Now then you need to look at the focal width, okay? So which means this is the p. So what is the distance between the vertex and the focus? Now the focus, I know that it's this point since it's marked. Okay, and the p is the distance between the vertex and the focus. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the focal width is, did I count right? Okay, so let's count again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the p is 5. Okay, so what is the focus in this case? Let's just start answering the question so we can write the equation. But honestly, by knowing the p and the h and the k, I'm ready to write the equation, okay? So the focus is 0, 5. Let's look at the focus. It's this point over here, so the x value is 0 and the y value is 5. The focal width is the p, which is the distance between the vertex and the focus. We calculate that to be 5. And it's also, if you want to double check your counting, since I made a counting mistake earlier. So let's count between the vertex and the directrix. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as well, because the vertex is halfway between them. This opens upward, so that tells me that I should have a positive in this part of the equation. This part over here, okay? So let's go ahead and mark the directrix as well. The directrix is a horizontal line, so the equation is y equals the y value over here, which is a -5. Okay, so the equation is x minus the h, which is the x of the vertex, and that's a 0, squared, equals plus, because it opens upward, 4 times the p, which is in this case a 5. Then it's y minus k. K is the y coordinate of the vertex, and that's a 0 as well. Okay, so let's fix our equation. x minus 0 is just an x. X to the power 2 equals 4 times 5, that's a 20. Then parentheses y minus 0, which is a y. So you can choose to keep the parentheses or you can just erase them, whatever works best for you. So that is the equation. X squared equals 20y. Okay, now so every time the vertex is at 0, 0, it means it's at the origin, then the h and the k are 0. So you can directly write x squared and y. Okay, so that is number 1. Let's move on to number 2. In number 2, they are telling me, or they want me to write the equation for the parabola, and they are telling me that the vertex is at the origin. That's a very important piece of information. It means that the vertex has an x coordinate of a 0 and a y coordinate of a 0 as well. So that means h is 0 and k is 0. So when I write the equation, I can write it as x squared equals plus or minus, depending on the opening of the parabola, 4p and then y, instead of y minus k and x minus h, since I know that h and k are 0. So you can write the equation and simplify it into that if you'd like to. Now let's move on to number 2. For me to successfully write the equation, I need to know how this parabola looks like, okay? So I know that the parabola is having a vertex at 0, 0. So let me mark the focus, which is 0, -5, so that's down, okay? So I know that the focus should be inside the parabola, so this is most likely a parabola that opens downward, okay? Because the focus has to be inside the parabola. If the parabola opens upward, then the focus will be below the parabola, which is not what I want. I want the focus to be inside the parabola, so that is a wrong parabola. Okay, this is the correct one. So x squared equals 4 times p. So what is the distance between the vertex and the focus? So the vertex is at 0, 0, and the focus is at 0, -5. So let's count if I had a grid. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. So there's a distance of 5 between them. If you'd like, I can always provide you with grid paper during a quiz or a concept check, or you can just sketch it like that. And y. So x squared equals, now remember that this opens downward, so it's a -20y. Okay? That is the equation for the parabola for number 2. So sketching it will help me a lot. Okay? So now this should be up. Make sure that your note says up over here. Okay, so the focal width is 7, so that is your P. P is 7. And it's opening upwards, so that means that I should have a positive 4P, okay? Now, do I really need to sketch this? Not really, because I know my focal width, I know my P. So then I can directly write the equation as x squared equals plus, since it opens upward, 4 times P, which is a 7. And then I can write the y. So as you can see, I'm using the reduced or the simplified equation since the vertex is at the origin, so the h is 0 and the k is 0. So simply it's x squared instead of x minus h squared. And it's y instead of y minus k. Okay? So then x squared equals positive 28y. You don't have to put the positive, but it would help you remember that you need to put a minus if it opens downward. Okay, so the directrix, this should also be, so check your notes, it should be y equals 3. Okay, so the directrix is y equals 3. Okay, so let me graph that. That will help me realize how this parabola opens. Okay, so I know that the vertex is at 0, 0, y equals 3, so 1, 2, 3, that is my directrix. Okay, so the distance between the directrix and the vertex, that's your P, which in this case is 3. So the distance between them is 3. Okay. Now remember that the directrix and the parabola will not intersect. So the parabola must open downward while the focus is somewhere inside the parabola. I don't really need to find it to write the equation, so I don't really need to worry about that. But remember that the parabola should contain the focus, and the parabola and the directrix should not intersect. So if you graph this upward, then the directrix and the parabola will intersect. So that is not correct. It's a parabola that opens downward. So I know that x squared equals to -4 times the p, which is a 3 in this case, since the distance between the vertex and the directrix is 3. So 1, 2, 3. And then y. So x squared equals -12y. That is my equation. Now we will do problems in a minute where the vertex is not at 0, 0, and that is what 5, 6, 7 are about. So they want me to write equations for the following parabolic equations using the given key attributes. Okay, so now the vertex is not at 0, 0 like we did earlier. So let's see how we can figure this one out, okay? So let's go ahead and mark the vertex. The vertex is at -4, -2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, so that is your vertex. Now the directrix is at y equals 2, so let's mark the directrix. Now remember, knowing the vertex and the directrix never intersect, so this should open downward. Okay. Now I need to figure out what the p, and that's the distance between the vertex and the directrix, so let's count. So that's at 2. That's a bad line. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so that's 2. Okay. So let's count. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the p is 4. Knowing that the vertex is at -2, so 1, 2, and then the directrix is at +2, correct? So +2, so you go up 2, so that's a 4, so p is 4. Okay, so remember, if you need a grid to sketch that, you may ask me for one. I always have extra grids in the classroom, okay? So to write this equation, I need to use the main equation that we learned, not the simplified one, since the vertex is not at the origin like we learned before, and this is a -4p since it opens downward, okay? So let's go ahead and plug in the points now. The h is the x of the vertex, which is -4. The k is the y of the vertex, which is -2. So let's go ahead and plug things in now. So x minus the h of the vertex, which is -4, equals -4 times the p, which is 4. Then y minus the y of the vertex, which is -2. Now, negative and negative, that will give you a positive, so that's x plus 4 to the power 2. -4 times 4, that's a -16. And then negative and negative, that will give you a positive, so y plus 2. And that is the equation. So knowing the p and the vertex, you can write any equation, any parabolic equation. Okay, let's move on to number 6. In number 6, they gave me the focus and the directrix, but they did not give me the vertex. But remember that the vertex is halfway between the focus and the directrix. So once I sketch those, I can figure out what the vertex is, okay? So the focus is 5, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So that's your focus. And now the directrix is -3. So 1, 2, 3. That is my directrix. Okay, so that's your focus, that's your directrix. So let's count and then divide the distance between them by half, and that's where my vertex is going to be. So here, from here to here, it's 3, and then this is 3, so the halfway is, then the whole distance is 6. Halfway between them is at the x-axis. So let's do the grid, so that will help you see it better, okay? Okay, so count with me. Between the focus and the directrix, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6. What's half of 6? 3. Okay? So count 1, 2, 3. So that is the vertex. Then 1, 2, 3. So you see how the vertex is halfway between them? And the parabola should open upward because the focus has to be inside the parabola. So I know that the distance between the vertex and the focus is a 3. I know it should be plus 4p since it opens upward. And let's look at the coordinates of the vertex. The vertex is at the x-axis. Okay, so then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the x of the vertex is 5. Notice how it's the same as the x of the focus. And then the y is 0 since the vertex is at the x-axis. So let's go ahead and start writing the equation. So x minus h, which is the x of the vertex, that's your h. So x minus 5 squared equals plus, because it opens upward, 4 times p, which is the distance between the vertex and the focus, or the distance between the vertex and the directrix, which is a 3. Then y minus the k, which is the y of the vertex, and that's a 0. So let's simplify this equation. So x minus 5 to the power 2 equals 4 times 3, that's a 12. Y minus 0 is just a y, and that is the equation of this parabola. Now let's move on to number 7. In number 7, they gave me the vertex. So the h is -2, and the k is 5. They told me that the distance between the directrix and the parabola or the vertex is 4. So that's your p. And they also told me that it opens upwards. So really, I don't need to sketch it. Everything is given to me. So let's write the equation. X minus h to the power 2 equals plus 4p y minus k. So x minus the h of the vertex, which is -2, squared equals plus 4 because it opens upward, times p, which is a 4 in this case, then y minus the k, which is the y of the vertex, which is 5. So negative and negative, that's a positive. So x plus 2 squared equals 4 times 4, that's a 16, and then y minus 5. And that's how you do number 7. I hope this video was helpful. Make sure that you do the practice sheet and check the website for the key.